So this week, after Premiership Rugby returned and Super Rugby Aotearoa finished, got us thinking, what are your favourite, what are the standout match-winning moments, the moment a hero stood up and won the game in the dying moments? What stands out for you? I've been made aware, apparently, that Jonathan Wilkinson did this once or twice. I think he did it for Newcastle Falcons in the Premiership a couple of times, but I can't think of any more notable than that. Shane Williams against Scotland in 2010. A moment I was there for, genuinely the loudest thing my ears have ever had to comprehend. It just became white noise. Like, you couldn't even hear cheering or anything in it other than just white noise. Any other standout moments from match-winning moments towards the end, please let us know and I'll read them out next week. So, as I mentioned, this week, Super Rugby Aotearoa came to a close. The Crusaders had already secured the title. They didn't even need to go and play. They didn't even need to do that, which did unfortunately mean we didn't get to see Scott Robertson go for his traditional breakdance.
No! No!
However, we did get one more round, one more game, as the Highlanders put in a great performance to see Aaron Smith's 150th game for the club, and it was a properly entertaining, really fast-paced game, and plenty of highlights in there, as there were throughout the Premiership, which returned this week. So we had a full round of games. Quins beat Sale in the first game on the Friday night before tries aplenty as Bath put in a big win. We saw Bristol pull it out in the last few minutes. They didn't so much have a try-scoring hero at the death as it was a penalty try, but Siali Pietau, very deserving man of the match there. There were all kinds of other highlights across the league. Wasps were fantastic against a Northampton team that themselves came to play rugby. It was a pretty solid round of matches, and there'll be more coming over the next few weeks. They've got 9 games to pack in between now and mid-October when the final's being played. I'm frankly very excited to see where this goes, and even better, the Pro 14 returns this week. So there's even more rugby, alongside the competition still continuing, which is Super Rugby Australia. So the true highlight of Super Rugby Australia this week was this. Never mind any of the actual tries. This was a try that got disallowed by Kavus Eloff as he went over the line, only in the process for his shorts rather, to be ripped, revealing some rather fetching pink underwear.
Oh, behave.
I'm all for this. I think, frankly, more props should wear underwear with, I can't quite tell what it is. I think maybe it's the Rebels logo. I think he's got pink custom underwear with the Rebels logo on it. Without wanting to sound disgusting, I want to see more. I want to know. Yeah, there's no safe way to finish the sentence, is there? Let's leave that there. Let's leave it a curiosity. I don't need to go to prison for this. Super Rugby Aotearoa has now, unfortunately, come to a close. It's been a fantastic competition, and so I thought it was high time to look back on it and reflect on everything that happened over what has been a glorious and amazingly consistent competition down in New Zealand. It's going to be strange opening Twitter on weekends without seeing countless clips of impossible seeming skill in front of full crowds from the land of the great long white clout, New Zealand. From Bryn Gatland breaking his dad's heart in the final minutes of the first weekend, right through to the Highlanders seeing out Aaron Smith's 150th game in style this Saturday. The in-between has been packed with so many standout moments. Hoskins Tutu has turned himself from an unknown youngster into one of the most exciting and promising players in world rugby. Boosted by Bowden Barrett, before's Basement Boys, the Blues began beating and bruising with brilliant rugby. Bodie's brother, Geordie, did a big kick, and it began to look like he's finally maturing into the player he's always looked like he would be if he could keep the Midnight Nuggets under control. TJ Perinara at 10 has been fun. Lachlan Boshier, Aaron Smith, Caleb Clark. So many brilliant players across the league. I can't begin to list them all. I'll take all day. But ultimately, the competition belonged entirely and inevitably to the Crusaders. Probably the best club team in the world, who nonetheless squeezed in a loss long way just to add to the drama. We didn't get to see Scott Robertson break down at the end, but we did get to see his team play. We got to see Richie Mwanga play in some form, and that's almost been as big a joy. The accuracy and efficiency of the Crusaders is a rugby hardcore's dream. Just a team playing with such accuracy, even an off-target pass like this turned into something that looks articulated, brilliant, almost planned. This has been Super Rugby Aotearoa down to a T. And there could not have been a better way to wean ourselves back onto rugby after so long in the dark than this. And in other news, former Scotland captain John Barclay has retired. It's quite a loss. He was a fantastic servant, a fantastic player for firstly Glasgow as part of that iconic Killer Bees back row, and then for the Scarlets, where he spent many years. You know, his kids learned Welsh, he really committed and was really beloved down there before finally seeing out his days at Edinburgh. So he's moved on from rugby, but it's very much a loss to Scottish rugby and to rugby as a whole.
Stings on. John Barclay is in the clear. Duncan Taylor with him. Barclay sells a little dummy. John Barclay, the veteran.
In new arrivals, Exeter Chiefs have signed their first female player ahead of entering a team into what's currently the Children's Premiership next season or so.
Hey guys, do you see the...
So last week we asked, what results do you think belong in the Upside Down? What were the most unlikely, unusual results you could think of? So, some responses. Hill16 says the Blues beating the British and Irish Lions in 2017. I mean, that was very much one of those games that Gatland was not targeting, I think is safe to say. Alex Gilchrist, when Argentina beat Australia, and he of course mentions after Folau knocked the ball on in the last minute when the line was open, but Israel Folau, who I won't describe how this made me feel, but decided to go himself and knock the ball on and lost the team the game. H Royal says Ireland beating the All Blacks in 2016 for the first time in over 100 years of playing New Zealand. Sam Gastrell says, in a kind of complete opposite end of most answers, New Zealand beating South Africa 57-0, which again, when you look back on it, kind of triggered them going to win a World Cup, but such an odd result. Graham says the Blue Bulls in 2007 needed a bonus point win for a margin of 70 plus points in order to qualify for the semi-finals. They went on to beat the Reds 92-3 before winning their first Super Rugby title that year, which is it's one of those remarkable stories. It's much like the miracle match for Munster, where they needed to win by 28 points and they won by exactly 28 points with a conversion in the last minute against Gloucester to make it so. It's one of those phenomenal results that kind of comes out of nowhere. Also beating Toulouse 38-0, says Philip Glover. The Japan lost to New Zealand at 147 points. So many of these. England reached the 2007 World Cup final. I think that qualifies. And actually France in the 2011 final, as Louis says. Asher says England-Scotland last year, which of course that Calcutta Cup match finished 38-all after England were 30 plus points up at half time. Only 38-7 up at half time. Only for Scotland to come back, get ahead, and then forward to score in the last minute and draw the game level. It was brilliant, and it did come completely out of nowhere. Not just as a result, but as a fixture, as each half came out of nowhere. It was unlike anything else. However, speaking of unlike anything else, great one to finish on. Gupper says the obvious one, the one that no one will ever forget, the Brighton miracle itself, Japan beating South Africa. So that brings us through. That's all we have time for, I'm afraid. This first weekend of the Premiership being back, this last weekend of Super Rugby Aotearoa. We'll be back next weekend when the Pro 14 is starting again, Super Rugby Australia rolls on, and more stuff continues to happen in the world of rugby. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.